Welcome to the channel and to the Horus Heresy. This is a 2000 point battle between Mechanicum and Mechanicum. This battle report was filmed at Bristol Independent Gaming. This is one of their rooms. Look, I'm the only person here. And this is another one of their rooms. And this is the battlefield we are playing on today. In and around this ruined archway, the Mechanicum and the Dark Mechanicum are going to meet. It is War of Lies, it is Dawn of War deployment, and it is high noon. The sun is high in the sky. War of Lies is essentially a kill point game. You get a point for every unit you completely destroyed, and there are objectives in the center of the table, one in the very center of the table, one in the middle of this archway where this column has been destroyed and the position has been fortified, and then four more. Three ended up getting placed down this side of the table, so this portion of the battlefield will become very tactical, and one over here. And the objectives, we don't know how many points they're worth. We're going to roll for it at the end of the game as per the rules, and they can be worth 0, 1, 2 or 3, or if you roll a 6 at the end of the game, the unit controlling it gets -3 victory points. It's a Forge World specific game. It can be found in the Crusade books for the Horus Heresy, and I think it's very, very fitting for a battle of Mechanicum versus Dark Mechanicum. Who is the good guy? Who is on the side of right and righteousness? Have you rallied to Horus's call, or do you stand by the Imperial truth? So without much further ado, let's go and have a look at these armies. There's 2000 points worth of Mechanicum Tagmata. This is a Legio Cybernetic cohort. Warlord for my army is an Archmagos Dominus with a Rag Cleanser and a Servo Arm, and there is another Magos Dominus following them around as well. 2 units of Castellax. This unit, no upgrades whatsoever. This unit, Dark Fire Cannon, Enhanced Targeting. And then 2 units of 3 Vorax, and there is a Rad Cleanser in each of these squads here. Cybernetic constructs do not count as scoring, but they do count as denial. And the Cortex Controller Cyber 30 range has gone out from 24 inches because it's a Legio Cybernetica list. 2 units of Fearless Tech Throws with Rite of Pure Fort and Carapace Armor. Unit of 6 Thalax, there's 2 Photon Thrusters in there. Unit of Myrmidons, 2-phase Plasma Feudals. And these are converted Tarantula turrets with multi-lasers. So very little anti-tank, anti-armor busting capability. Essentially, if my opponent brings armor, I'm going to have to run up and punch it. This is 2000 points of beautifully painted Mechanicum Tagmata. This is a single combined arms detachment. Okay, the warlord for the army is an Archmagos Prime Ordinatus, so that he drops the barrage in. He's got the Cyber Familiar, the Mechandrite Harness, and the Abiant. That's a toughness 6, 2+ save, 3+ invuln, 4 wound, it will not die beast. This is a unit of Cyber Oculari. We've got 5 Thalax. I don't think they've got any upgrades. And 4 Thalax. This is a lovely converted Vorax. And we've got 2 Domitars. Point of note, the Domitars are in 1 unit. The 2 Thanatars are separate units with enhanced targeting. Yeah. And we've got a Krios Venator and a Krios Venator. This thing chucks out 4 Strength 9 AP2 ordnance shots. Basically a 4-shot las cannon at 36-inch range, and they're fast. And they've got a flare shield, so the front armor is essentially 14. They are nasty. The Vorax has got biocorrosive ammunition. These guys have got frag grenades because they don't come with them as standard for some reason. So today I'm fighting Rob. He's been commenting on the channel for some time now, and his army is very pretty. I think it's prettier than mine. And it's the first time we're going to get to see Mechanicum Tagmata versus Mechanicum Tagmata. Particularly like this converted Vorax and the HQ. This is what Mechanicum should look like. Dark and nasty. You wouldn't want to be one. And I just got to get myself some of these. They are so very pretty. Anyway, 2000 points worth of bad guys. We are deployed and the bad guys are going first. Squadron of tanks here, and the Vorax has scouted forward Thanatar number 1, Thanatar number 2, the HQ and its Domitars here. Each of these little things can split off and act as an independent unit when the game begins. And Thalax here. I think it's interesting that most of the scoring stuff is down this side of the table because most of the objectives are here. Then as we look across the other side of the table, I've scouted forward with this Vorax. Those Vorax are staying with their toe in terrain, and I put most of my scory things where the objectives were. One big blob of Ad Secularis Covenant, the other blob, the Thalax back here, and then my cyber constructs along with my warlords down this side of the table. He's attached to that one, and this Magos is attached to this unit of Castellax. There are the Myrmidons. I've thought long and hard about keeping the Thalax in reserve, this unit here, and then deep striking them onto the archway, just for thematic effect. It would be brilliant if they were up there sniping down, but with their jump packs they could potentially get up there at some point of the game, as could these two units here. So these two Mechanicum forces close in on each other as the first hard rounds and las rounds ricochet across the battlefield. Let's begin this war of lies. End of turn 1 for the Dark Mechanicum, and they now control the centre of the archway, this fortified position here. Thalax moving forward, and round here a cautious advance, and the tanks swinging around the left side, and then it was shots coming in from the Domitar, the Thanatar, came in over here, killing one of the Vorax. We had a wound on a second Vorax here, and some scattering, some incidental fire on some of the tech thralls. Then round on the other side of the archway, that Thanatar flew in and nuked one of the Myrmidons. And that was pretty much all the damage the Dark Mechanicum were able to claim this turn. Let's go on to the Mechanicum. Good guys, turn 1. The Loyalist forces move forward across the line. Vorax here, and we've got some running with the little squad of Ad Secularis Covenant. They're very close to the Thalax under the arch. Vorax here, and some more pushing forward on this side of the table. And then bolt rounds, las cannon fire, ricocheted across the lines, and two of the cyber oculari on this side of the table are killed. There's still one of the little buggers down there, and one of them in here. And then dark fire cannon rounds coming in from the Castellax has put a wound on this Thanatar, and some shots from over here have put a wound on this Vorax, and that was it. So not many shots traded from each force in turn 1. Let's move on to turn 2. In turn 2, in the movement phase, the Dark Mechanicum move forward, the big guns getting closer to my lines, the Vorax staying backwards. Cyberthurgy cast on this, it's going to be firing its big gun twice, and with his right, with his special ability, it's up to ballistic skill 6. And then we've got Thalax taking up the archway in the centre of the table. Let's go into the shooting phase. With that Thanatar firing and that big Thanatar firing, there could be chunks torn out of the good guys. End of turn 1, and the first unit has been wiped off the battlefield, but there is no first blood. The Vorax and the tanks fired in at my unit of Vorax, which were here and aren't here anymore, just smeared grease and blood. And then most of the remaining fire, including his triple ordnance barrage from his warlord, plus the double Thanatar, came flying up and over and destroyed a couple of the Myrmidon Secutors, and only put 2 wounds on the lead Castellax there. His refractor field rippling away as explosive ordnance shattered around him. So the amount of barrage fire that came cracking into this side of the table can't happen again next turn. As the enemy reload their shields, reload their shells, but they are bleeding the Mechanicum forces, and they are controlling a number of these objectives. It's time for the Mechanicum, for the Omnissiah, to push back. End of turn 2 movement for the Mechanicum. The little squad here are going to try and charge these tanks. I've got nothing else against them over here. Nothing else that could really take them out. That Vorax is going to take shots from the Thalax and maybe take it down. Otherwise those tanks are going to have free reign, and these Vorax are going to try and close in on those Thalax there. That's an 8-inch charge through the archway. But I've got fleet. Round on this side of the archway, one of the Dominus failed Cyberthurgy, but one of them succeeded, and I'm going to fire twice at that big fella down there. End of the turn 2 for the Mechanicum, and shots came in at the Thanatar over here, taking 2 wounds off of it. It's down to 1 wound left, and shots round the side of the building at the Thalax did nothing, but shots around the front of the building at the Thalax killed one of them, and I failed to charge as a result. My Thalax over here failed to wound this Vorax, and the little guys made it in on that tank, wrecking it. That's how they ended up after the pile-in moves. 1 tank remaining. As we move into the second half of this battle, the toughness of these armies and the density of the terrain around this ruined gateway is proving a factor. While there are shots coming in left, right and centre and all over the place, very few things are dying. We've got Thalax in the middle of the courtyard about to get surrounded, but the slowness of each of the armies as well. Most of the Dark Mechanicum are on this side, and most of the force for the Omnissiah is on this side. It's 2 slow, ponderous, tough armies crashing around this huge archway. It's too early to tell who'll be scoring all of these objectives. It's certainly too early to tell who is winning the war of attrition. 1 point for every force, every unit destroyed. But let's descend into turn 3 and see if that changes. In the movement phase of turn 3 for the Dark Mechanicum, the Thalax and the Thanatar are pushing up hard to try and put some serious pressure on the Castellax down this side and the 1 remaining Myrmidon. There's enough firepower there to potentially make a difference on this side of the archway. And then around this side of the archway, Thanatar moving forward, and the Domitars are closing in on this squad of Vorax, and that Vorax, the Dark Mechanicum Vorax, want to clear away this squad of Tech Frowls. If he makes it into combat, then that'll be it. They'll be stuck in 1 tar pit for the remainder of the game. So some bold movement from the Dark Mechanicum. Let's go on to the shooting and assault phase. Bottom of turn 3 for the Dark Mechanicum, and of course the Vorax has made it into combat. He only slashed 2 to the ground, ripping them apart, and they didn't put any wounds back on in return. They're locked up for the remainder of the game, quite possibly. But before then, shots came in from the Domitar and the Warlord, killing off the lead Vorax here, and that was unfortunate because he failed to charge, just failed to charge after slaughtering that first Vorax. And then through the archway, the Thanatar and the Thalax blasted in. The Myrmidon has gone. 1 of the Castellax in this squad has gone. Only 3 Castellax remaining. Then failed charges from the Thalax as well to try and get into combat. So very little of the good guy forces around this side of the table, facing up to all those Thalax and the Thanatar down there. In my turn 3, the Vorax have ran around here, and the Adsecularis Covenant are going to try and charge up and tie up those Dominatars because they're big, they're scary, and I don't want them hitting my Vorax. I certainly don't want them hitting these Thalax here. I'd rather them tied up and out of the game. As for the Thalax, they jumped up and took some shots down the road along with this Castellax here, and I've injured this Thalax squad. And now my Castellax and the second in command are going to charge in. And for more success stories, one of the Thanatars is gone. I've got a point. It's Darkfire cannons from these guys fired in and destroyed it. My phase, this assault rages on. This assault failed the charge. And round here, I managed to put a wound on one of those Thalax. No wounds dealt out in return, and they are now locked up. We're moving on to turn 4. Turn 4 for the Dark Mechanicum, and this is what the table looks like. One of the Vorax was vaporized by the Cryos there. This battle rages on. 1 more casualty taken, One more wound put on the Vorax. He's down to 1 wound left, and the Domitars made it into close combat with the enemy warlord against the Ad Secularis Covenant after taking frag launchers to the face. There's not a lot of them left. They could potentially cut through that unit in a turn or two and then be free to come down and kill another scoring unit, the Thalax here. That is a worry. In return, I did nothing back to those big beasts. Around here, we're all locked up as well. This fight rages on, no wounds on either side. And round here, after the shell hit, the warlord took a wound, one of the Castellax is on a wound, and then every single one of these, one of the Thalax is down to 1 wound. One of them died from this squad when they came in getting punched by those Castellax. So we've got Castellax and Thalax fighting each other to the death here. I don't know if Rob's beginning to regret his decision of charging these in. I can make my way through them, but it is going to take a couple of turns. This thing is still hiding around the back, ready to jump up and point score later on. Locked up combats, locked up combats, locked up combats. There's not going to be much for me to shoot at this turn as we move on to good guys, turn 4. In turn 4 for the Mechanicum, the Thalax are running the hell away from the Domitars in the middle of the street, and that battle continues. Obviously the Domitars have taken no wounds, but there's 3 Fearless Techthraus still locking them up. Of course, at the end of turn 5 they will be free to rampage on, and hopefully my Thalax are far enough away to avoid getting destroyed. The Vorax that was here made it round into combat with that Vorax and killed it. So I am now broken out of combat, my Vorax consolidating towards the closest enemy unit, and the Techthraus spreading out joyously, singing hymns to the Omnissiah as they control that objective there. Or maybe not singing, but blurting noospheric cants. And then as we descend round to this side of the table, this battle with the Thalaxi rages on, and in this fight there is 1 Thalaxi left, so I should be able to break free and potentially score some objectives on this side of the table. We go on to turn 5 now. This game automatically ends on turn 6. It's a fixed turn limit, War of Lies. Kill point wise, it's 2 points each, but let's go on to turn 5. Turn 5 for the Mechanicum, a very short turn. The Krios immobilized itself, and as it revved its wheels, as it revved its tracks, its gun missed the Vorax right in front of it in close blank range. I think it's going to get torn apart next turn potentially. So that was very disappointing. This thing fired twice last turn, so it couldn't fire, and the Domitars creamed through the unit of Ad Secularis Covenant. Now they've got a choice whether to come up here and kill these turrets and score a point, or whether to go back and score that objective in turn 6. Robots cannot score objectives, they count as denial, units that consist only of them. But with his warlord in there, he will be able to take that objective. Remember, we're looking at random objective points at the end of turn 6. It could be worth nothing, it could be worth -3, or it could be worth 1, 2, or 3 points. So decisions for the Dark Mechanicum next turn. And then round here, my warlord also ripped through that last Thalax and got out of combat. And looking at that little thing down there, that's worth a point. And these guys continue to swing away at each other. Moving on to Mechanicum, turn 5. In turn 5, the Loyalist forces of the Omnissiah move round Thalax close to this objective to score it, staying away from that objective and the Domitars, which will smash them if they get into close combat. Their strength 10, their toughness 5. They will insta-kill these Thalax. They need to stay away. And then the Vorax and the Ad Secularis Covenant have ripped open that tank. That's another point, and there is an objective there, which I'll be scoring hopefully at the end of turn 6. And then around the other side of the table, the Warlord unit and his Castellax try to destroy that little thing back there. He's still alive and potentially could jump up and score that objective, and this combat continues. These Thalax, this Castellax, second in command, swiping at each other for turn after turn, just punching dust, not hurting each other at all. So we're descending into turn 6, which is automatically the last turn of the game, and both of the Warlords are still alive, and it looks like they're not going to die. And war of attrition, total number of units killed, I'm on 4, the Dark Mechanicum are on 3, so it looks like it's going to come down to some of these objectives. This one here, this one here, this one, and the one back by the tank. So in this turn, the orders across the noosphere are going to be very strategic, very tactical. As this war of lies draws to a close, who will win? Let's descend into turn 6. We are at the bottom of the movement phase for the Dark Mechanicum. The Cyber Ocularis cannot score actually, so he's tucked in there, so I can't kill him. But interestingly enough, the Warlord has broken free to score this objective, and the Domitars are coming in to take another point by ripping apart these turrets. If they make that move through cover, if they make that charge, which should be fairly easy, that's an obvious point. And the Thanatar has to close in on the closest enemy unit within 12 inches because he's out of Cortex controller range, and he's honing in on that Vorax. Bottom of turn 6 for the Dark Mechanicum, and they don't kill very much. His Warlord is holding the center objective. One of the turrets took a wound from shots from the Warlord, and the Domitars, unfortunately, failed to charge. The Thanatar made a charge in on the Vorax, took a wound off of him. He's on 2, he's still on his 4. That fight will go on and on, hopefully. Well, it's not like the Thanatar can go anywhere else because this is the end of the game turn for the Dark Mechanicum. And then around here, one of the Thalax is dead and they are still locked up. So, need to go away and have a bit of a think and try and win this game. Let's go to the very end of turn 6. It is the bottom of turn 6, it is the end of the game, and this is not how the world ends, because we're going to roll up for these objectives on camera. The death toll is 5 points to 3. 3 of the forces of the Mechanicum have died, and 5 units of the Dark Mechanicum. This fight continues on. His Warlord is safe in the center, and my Warlord unit went flying in on those 2 Thalax who were tying up the second in command and killed them. So all of the Castellax are now free and looking down at his Warlord, but the game is over. We're not going to make that glorious charge, that glorious battle. As additional support comes from other points of the battlefield, we're going to have to withdraw and lick our wounds and repair our gears and re-oil the cogs, pray to the Omnissiah, and hope for a rematch. So it's 5 points to 3. Both of the Warlords are still alive. The Dark Mechanicum control this objective, and I've got this one and this one. So now we're going to roll up on camera. On a roll of a 1, each objective is worth 0 points. On a 2 to 3, it's worth 1. On a 4, it's worth 2. On a 5, it's worth 3. On a 6, it's minus D3. So as I'm in the ascendancy and have 2 objectives, I think Rob should roll first. What do you think, Rob?
Yeah, go on. Let's see how the darkness descends.
All right, you got 3 points. You need big money on this one. That's as cocked as it comes. Look at that! 6 points. You can't get any better. If you rolled a 6, that would be minus D3 and potentially you could walk away with 0. So right now it's 6 points to 5 in favor of the Dark Mechanicum. Right, if I roll a 6 here, this is minus 3 points. It's a 1, that's worth 0. So it is still 6 points to the Dark Mechanicum. 5 points to me. I need a 2 to a 5. A 2 would draw it.
Yeah.
A 3, 4, 5 and I win. And a 6 is going to go horribly wrong.
No, the 2 or 3, because 2 or 3 is 1.
2 or 3 is 1.
Yeah,
so on a 0, okay. Let's just roll a dice and see what happens. 3.
It's a draw.
It's a draw. 6 points each. 6 points each. So the War of Lies is over. This is the way the world ends. 6 points each. It's a draw, which I think is quite fitting. Thank you for Rob for letting me play. Thank you for Bristol Independent Gaming for letting me come, and Bristol Vanguard for the terrain. Hope you enjoyed that battle report. Thank you very much for watching, and happy wargaming.